Hello everyone, this is Wandering Tati. Today we'll continue learning together about the most common cognitive biases. These systematic patterns of thinking that may lead us to make irrational judgments or decisions. They act as mental shortcuts shaped by our experiences, emotions, and limited information, often causing errors in reasoning or perception. As I always say, all of us are prone to be influenced by them, so it's always good to recognize them and thus stop ourselves from making erroneous judgments or bad decisions. The first for today is the backfire effect. This is a phenomenon in which when people encounter evidence contradicting their beliefs, they may reject it and become even more strongly convinced of their original viewpoint. This bias is concerning, as it can prevent people from acknowledging and adapting to new information and can also lead to the spread of misinformation. A current example of this may be climate change denial. Even though there is an overwhelming amount of scientific evidence supporting it, some people continue to reject it and deny the existence of climate change, and any efforts to present them with new information or evidence may only serve to strengthen their denial or their belief that it is a hoax. The same goes for anti-vaxxers. Some people may reject the large amount of scientific evidence supporting the safety and effectiveness of vaccines, leading to the spread of misinformation and the resurgence of preventable diseases. As Mark Twain once said, "It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so." So how to combat this bias? In order to reduce our own backfire effect, we should be aware of its influence and try to modify the way in which we react as we come across information that contradicts our beliefs. When we encounter such information, let us try not to outright ignore it or immediately try to explain why it's wrong, but try to look at it with fresh eyes and assess it based on its own merit, without comparing it to our pre-existent theory. Now, if we would like to prevent this bias on others as we present new evidence, a good approach is to focus on common ground. We could start the conversation by acknowledging shared values or beliefs to reduce defensiveness. We should avoid using confrontational or threatening language and try to present the information in a respectful and non-threatening way. Also, a very important point is that if we wish people to listen to our ideas, which may be fundamentally different from theirs, we should be willing to do the same. By being open to new information and acknowledging when our own beliefs may be wrong, we can help to create a more open and accepting environment in which others are more likely to consider new information objectively. Try to approach opposing views with curiosity rather than defensiveness, asking yourself, what can I learn from this perspective? On a similar note, we have reactance. Have you, like me, ever felt less inclined to watch a TV show after a friend constantly insists that you should watch it? Then we might have been influenced by this bias. Here, you would rather do the opposite of what someone is trying to make you do.
My room is kind of a disaster. I should probably clean it up. Yeah, this will be great. I'll have more room for my next project, and I won't be embarrassed of people seeing a mess in the background of video calls. And hey, you should really clean up in here. It's quite a mess.
When we feel that our freedom of choice is being restricted, our inclination is to resist. We tend to react by doing the opposite of what is being imposed, as a way to assert our autonomy. The psychological reactance theory was first introduced in 1966 by social psychologist Jack Brem. Brem asserted that reactance was the motivation to regain lost freedom and leads people to try to resist the persuasion and influence of others. An example may come in the form of people that disapprove the rules regarding the pandemic, by, for instance, refusing to wear masks because they view it as a violation of their personal freedom. Sure, blind conformity is not the way to go, but neither is being a knee-jerk contrarian. So how can we deal with this bias? Pause and ask yourself, is my reaction because I dislike being told what to do, or do I actually disagree with the advice itself? Instead of thinking they are trying to control me, reframe it as, this is information I can consider. I'm still in control of whether or not I take the advice. By shifting your mindset, you reduce the emotional resistance that fuels reactance. On the other hand, instead of imposing a decision, we could offer multiple options so that the other person feels a sense of autonomy. Instead of giving orders like, you must do this, we could say, this is something you might want to consider. And finally, remind people that they have the freedom to make their own choices, reducing the urge to resist. Next one is the recency effect. This is our tendency to give more importance to recent information compared to earlier information, especially when making decisions or judgments. It is usually the case that we remember the most recent information more vividly. For example, in job interviews, an interviewer may remember the last candidate more vividly and judge them more favorably because of the recency of their interaction. A student who studies right before the exam is more likely to recall the recently studied material compared to earlier topics. So how to combat this bias? A very practical suggestion is to just take notes. When making decisions, keep notes or summaries to balance the importance of earlier and recent information. We should also review all information. Actively revisit earlier points or evidence to avoid giving disproportionate weight to the most recent inputs. And finally, take your time. Pause and reflect before making a judgment to ensure that you have considered all information equally. Now we will see change blindness. This is the failure to notice substantial changes in a scene or environment when our attention is focused elsewhere. For instance, a driver focusing on their GPS might not notice that a store they regularly pass has changed its sign or is even closed down. A well-known example regarding this bias comes from a psychology experiment developed by Christopher Chabrit and Daniel Simons.
Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball. How many passes did you count? The correct answer is 15 passes. But did you see the gorilla?
How can we deal with this bias? We could try to train ourselves to be more observant and present in our surroundings. We can double-check details, revisit and re-examine the environment to catch changes that we might have missed the first time around. And finally, seek external input. You can ask others for their observations, as they might notice things that you have overlooked. And the final one for today, groupthink. This is a phenomenon where we let the social dynamics of a group situation override the best outcomes. Here, the desire for group harmony and conformity overrides critical thinking and sound decision-making.
You can't wear a tank top 2 days in a row, and you can only wear your hair in a ponytail once a week. So I guess you pick today. Oh, and we only wear jeans or track pants on Fridays. Now, if you break any of these rules, you can't sit with us at lunch. Well, I mean, not just you, like, any of us. Okay, like if I was wearing jeans today, I would be sitting over there with the art freaks. Oh, and we always vote before we ask someone to eat lunch with us because you have to be considerate of the rest of the group. Well, I mean, you wouldn't buy a skirt without asking your friends first if it looks good on you. I wouldn't. Right.
Dissent can be uncomfortable and dangerous to one's social standing. And so, often the most confident or first voice will determine group decisions. This fact, combined with the Dunning-Kruger effect, may be worrisome, as the most confident voices could also be the most ignorant ones. To name a couple of examples, for instance, in a business meeting, employees may agree with their CEO's bad idea because they don't want to challenge authority or disrupt consensus. consensus. Or in a group of friends deciding on a vacation destination, they might agree to an option they secretly dislike just to avoid conflict. So, how to deal with it? Groupthink is often fueled by emotions like fear, excitement, or urgency. Practice emotional regulation to ensure you're thinking clearly and rationally. What you can ask yourself is, am I agreeing too quickly just to fit in? If I were alone, would I make the same decision? What would an outsider think of this? Being mindful of social pressure can help you resist the urge to conform. Instead of openly contradicting others, we could seek to facilitate objective means of evaluation and critical thinking practices as a group activity. An interesting idea is to appoint a devil's advocate. We assign someone in the group to be the one in charge of challenging ideas or decisions constructively. We should also aim to create an environment where people feel safe to express dissent without fear or judgment. That was the last bias I had planned for the video. There's still more biases to learn, so I will cover them in another video. By being mindful of these biases and employing strategies like critical thinking and openness to different perspectives, it's possible to reduce their influence in our lives and decision making. How about you? Which of these biases has influenced you the most? I really hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please remember to like, share and subscribe to support the channel. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Until next time!